No, a goldfish does not have a 3-second memory. No, the North Star is not the brightest star. No, coal doesn't turn into diamonds. Surprised? There are literally hundreds of more pieces of information where that came from in my book, Facts That Aren't True. Click the link in the description to learn more.
Or did you try?
I was raised in a church for my entire childhood, so does that count as trying?
No, that just means you went to church. Trying is having a personal relationship. I mean, when you're raised in the church, was your dad or mom a part of it, or
My
like you
mom was
just
a
went to
huge
go?
part of it. Yeah. Do you know what a do you know and accept the concept of a what do you call it a something like a non-resistant non-believer? Do you know what I mean when I say that?
No, it's the first time. Explain it to me if you could, please.
Well, I think I'll put it in a more simple sense. If God wanted me to know that God exists, it did not try.
Okay.
And a God
I can see
certainly
that.
would know how to do that, and it didn't.
No, I understand. If a king wanted to actually go out and talk to every one of his subjects, he probably could do that. Would he? Would be the question. I mean, have you ever read the chapter? Let's say the book. Have you ever read the book of Job?
Um, I'm not sure if I've read the entire thing.
Okay. No, I would ask or employ you to read it. Job goes through a horrific situation, but
Yeah, I know.
around chapter
I know
33,
the story. Yeah, it's go ahead.
I was going to say around chapter 38 to verse or to chapter 43. Sorry, hold on. An ambulance is passing. Hold on. And my dog is just. Lord God, please help her. Sorry, she is howling so hard right now. I would say chapter 38 to chapter 43, this specific um, question is answered with God talking to Job. And his thing is well, where were you when I created the heavens and the earth? Where were you when I separated land from the sea?
Yeah, I know about that. Do you know the way the heavens work? Can you tame behemoth? Can you whatever?
Yeah, but his point he was getting to Job is even though I do all of that, I still have you.
What does that
I
mean?
still look out for you.
Wait,
So even
what?
though
He
Job
looked
went
out
through
for him. He killed his entire family.
no, Satan did that. So the thing I'm looking at and the thing that I read understood with reading it is that even though Satan tried to trip up Job and hurt him in the most unbelievable possible way, God restored Satan. Now, us as man, we're going to see that as a problem because why in the world would you take his family? Why in the world would you allow him to go through all these turmoils and lose all his land? But God is looking at, okay, but I have looked at the entire situation in whole. I have understood what you're going through. And even though these things happen to you, I'm going to restore your family. Your children were with me in heaven. Okay. They're like this story was for people who get at a certain status in life or just get to a point where it's me, I'm doing this, even though Job didn't deserve it. But the whole point was we're going to defeat Satan because Satan is the one that introduced sin into the world.
If you were God and you could prevent Satan from doing that, why would you not do it?
The same way I wouldn't prevent my child from touching a hot stove after I told him don't do it.
You
Because
really
the
wouldn't?
child,
You really wouldn't?
as a father, no. If I've told you 100 times don't do that because it's going to keep you from pain, you don't believe me, and then you still do it. Well, now me and you understand
Would
that
you
there's
would you
pain
let them
there. Now,
jump into a fire?
the same way he gives you warnings,
Would you
but he
let
still
your
gives
own
you the free
child
will.
jump into a fire?
That's a fallacy. I mean,
It's not.
honestly,
Would you let your
no,
child?
no,
No. Okay.
no. As a man,
So
no. But
why? So
okay,
what?
I'm trying to
What
explain why not.
specific kinds of things would you let your child suffer and endure?
Honestly, if I can stop them from doing it, I wouldn't let them suffer anything that's going to hurt them.
Well, you are
But
greater
because
than
they have to
God,
grow
sir.
in life, no, 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 no. You got to hear what
You
I'm
are
doing.
much greater than God. If I
No, I'm
heard
actually taking it from
if
God.
I heard that Satan was going to uh, kill Job's entire family, and I was able to make it not happen, I'd make it not happen.
Okay, so then I asked you about this one specific thing that Jesus did. With it's always often they say, "Well, Jesus couldn't do this," so Jesus literally stopped a group of people from making a mistake, right? Or he could have stopped them, right? He told them about it. Then his disciples were, okay, God, why won't you help them? Because they won't learn, they won't grow. That's the same thing that we go through in life. How else are you supposed to learn something if you don't experience it? You can be told 100 times. Kids do this all the time with their parents. Dad, I don't want to do this. I like this girl. Okay, that girl's fast. Don't do that. If you get pregnant, now your whole entire life changes. Right now, you have opportunity to be better, but as soon as that child comes, it's not about you anymore. Well, yeah, Dad, I hear what you're saying, but that's not what this is right now. Okay, but I'm telling you the consequences, and if you pursue it, you're gonna change your life or hurt yourself. Nah, Dad, I'm not gonna listen to you. I'm going to go ahead and do it. A couple of years later, a couple of months later, it doesn't matter how long. Dang, Dad, she really hurt me. I know. I've been down the road. I know what the road looks like. Like that.
There are types. So there are types of. I'm actually against the idea of bubble wrapping the entire world. To an extent, because I think that going through adversity is actually an important part of developing as a person. But there is also such a thing as pointless suffering. What was the point of God allowing Satan to kill Job's entire family? Because it sounds like your explanation for that was God said, "Oh, look, they're with me in heaven." What's the point?
No, not that. That's not my. That wasn't. Okay, I'll do it like this. The
What
point was Satan is already doing it. He's on a war path. He's like a roaring lion, right? Looking to devour and destroy anybody. He's already doing this. Okay. The point is to free us from that. God told us, God gave us direction, God gave us purpose, and just like in the Garden of Eden, okay, don't eat from the tree of knowledge. This will hurt you. Satan comes in, goes and disrupts it because he's pissed off. He's kicked out with 1/3 of the angels. The point is to stop our sufferings, to stop it from him. But the only way that you're going to be able to do that is get down there in the nitty gritty with the person you're trying to help. We don't have to go through it, but how many times do we listen?
I was trying to ask the point of the story, and I'm reading Job here, and what happens
Where are you
is
reading? Where are you reading so I can be on the same?
Job 1.
Okay, so you're in chapter 1. Okay.
Yeah, and starting in verse 8, Satan said, or God says to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There's no one on earth like him. He's blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." And then Satan just says, "Yeah, but why? You put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has. You've given him blessings of herds of sheep and whatever. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and surely he will curse your face, Lord." And then the Lord says to Satan, "Very well then, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." So this is what I got wrong, but I got it right kind of in a way. I think the point of this story, I don't think it's a good story, but I don't think people had whatever, we don't have to get into that. But the point is that Job just has unwavering faith in God, even if Job's life is miserable. Because, yeah, a good person worshiping God there's nothing really all that like, would you love me if I were broke? Kind of like in a weird sort of comparison, right? Um, but this is just such a sadistic story. God gives permission to Satan to, okay, make the man as miserable as you want, just don't harm him. Except, doesn't Job get like boils and sores? That seems kind of odd. But like all of his daughters and sons and his wife and everything dies. What was the point?
How it goes to explain this correctly. So you have somebody who hates his father and his creation.
Who?
And he's been acting the same way.
Who?
For Satan.
It doesn't say that anywhere. And in the Old Testament, Satan is just a title that means like adversary of God. There's nothing in this story where Satan is this just conniving little bitter soul or anything like that. It literally just says Satan was walking around and God says, "Where you been, buddy?" And he just says, "I've been walking around on the earth."
But when you read the Bible, you see that he was walking around on the earth as a roaring lion, consuming and destroying anybody he crossed.
If you assume univocality, if you take the words of people that lived thousands of years later and what they wrote, then sure. But if we just read the story, what does the story say?
No, I get where you're coming from. I mean, I could apply the same logic to American history. That doesn't mean I would be right.
Yeah, so I just want to know what the story says, not what the story doesn't say, or not what some other story says.
Well, to do that, I have to explain to you, because you don't know and you don't read it, the characteristics of the evil one and what he's doing, and then understanding at that point, okay, the purpose is...
To me, the evil one is the one who gives permission to inflict misery on innocent people and kill them.
Okay, but that's because you haven't read everything. You don't know him.
What could possibly be the justification for me granting somebody else the power to go and harm and kill innocent people?
He didn't tell him to go harm and kill innocent people. That was all in his actions. Satan could have chosen to do something different. He didn't.
God he gave him not a blank check, but that's all I can think of to say. The Lord said to Satan, "Everything he has is in your power." He gave him like what do you if I let's just imagine this happening in society today. If you gave people weapons and said, "Go do whatever you want with them. I give you permission to." Yeah, those people, whatever horrible acts they did, I would hope that they would be held accountable for them. Don't you think you should be held accountable?
He holds himself accountable.
God holds himself accountable?
Yeah, he said that let me see here. Where is the script? Where's the scripture where he says, I created evil? He takes responsibility for what his son does. But he also looks at it and says, okay, well, with my moral standard, my moral statutes, with my laws, you do not have to suffer the same fate. God is a type of God that he's not going to judge you. He will get down in the dirt with you to help bring you up out of the dirt, versus somebody talking at you, but that's not willing to get in the dirt with you. That's his characteristic. And when you read the Bible, you see that. Us as
what does that mean?
What do you mean, does that mean? So hold on. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been in trouble to where your parents had to step in and get you out?
I've never had to been like bailed out or had my case pleaded or anything like that.
Okay, but this trouble where they had to this trouble to where they had to intervene. Don't have to go to
No.
court. Let's say like something bully at school. Let's say for instance you're at work and someone tries to assault you. Just any type of situation where your parents had to step in with you. Have you experienced that?
No, I mean, I got in trouble and my parents punished me, but they never had to step in and do anything.
Okay. Well, that the God stepping in and getting down in the dirt with us with our sin and saying, "Here, let me guide you up out of this because right now you've been going in circles. Let me get in this muck and grab you by the hand and say, okay, this way." That's the type of characteristics that he has. That's who he is. My parents, because I was hard headed, like, or here, I'll do my brother. My brother got with this
On
female who only
camera?
wanted him for his money. Huh?
Nothing. Sorry, go on.
Okay, yeah. My brother got with this female who wanted nothing to do with him except his money. He was in the army. Now he went to Fort Bragg thinking he wanted to marry this girl. She was just emptying his bank account. And you get in trouble in the army if you don't handle your finances right. My dad, once my brother told him what was happening, he ex-military, he went onto base and changed all of my brother's stuff. Then when my brother graduated, he went to his graduation and then showed him receipts of this girl buying cars, paying her rent, dating other men and sponsoring them. He got him out of trouble. Now he could have been like, well, I told you, you didn't listen. Now you got this lesson, do better next time. But how? How is he going to do better? That's still not an answer to be better. That's still not an answer to understand. So he got down in the dirt with my brother and walked him out of his problem that he put himself in for not listening.
Okay, Alan,
Parents do that.
It's not a bad story, but it doesn't have anything to do with Job. And my question was, where is the justification or the moral logic or the rational or whatever for punishing innocent people to prove or really allowing them to be harmed so that God could prove a point to Satan?
It was not that God can prove a point. It was for our salvation. We are still going through the same problems today, dealing with the evil one.
So then, why does God let Satan do that? So that we can grow?
Why does God let Satan do that? So that we can see, so that we can understand. Look, right now, you don't even want to hear, anything about God bringing people out of that type of damnation. You're still fighting against it. When you love somebody, you'll show them. You'll actually physically act upon it. You can say it. It can sound nice and never do anything about it and just keep gaslighting, or you can do something about it and physically show them.
Why would I not if somebody was going through something, why wouldn't I just say, oh, this is Satan doing this to you to test your faith? And then why would I not just go completely hands off and not help them for the greater good?
Well, I would say thank God that you're not God, but Job understood at the end of the experience that he could talk to God.
Do you think it would be unethical to do that? What I just described?
Do I think it would be unethical? That goes back to the touching the stove and the hot. Did he tell him beforehand? Does he know God beforehand? Was that unethical?
Let's just do it like a specific example. I see that somebody is just in incredible danger. They're hanging off of a cliff or something. And I say, Satan, or that's not a good example. Let's say somebody's really sick. Like I'm a parent with a child and the child is really sick. And I say, look, Satan is doing this to you to test your faith. And so I'm not taking you to the hospital. we're going to have faith that God is going to fix this, or even if you do die, we are still going to worship God, even if he allows Satan to take you away from me in this world. Would that be okay for somebody to do?
Would that be okay for somebody to do? God would never do that.
He did do that to Job.
Without warning, without knowing who he is. Just blindly, I'm supposed to do this. You don't have any of my characteristics. You don't know who I am.
I don't even know what that means.
Meaning that they're like, okay, so your sick child, hey, I need you to take him to the doctor. You don't do it. You have tools to help you. Hey, you got a sick child.
Instead I invoke that this is a test from that Satan is doing this, and it's a test of our faith.
So where's the works?
What?
Where's the action in solving the problem? Faith without works is dead. So you're just sitting there going, it's like the boat. It's like this story where there's a flood, and
so you're saying it would be bad.
This person's going.
Then why did God let Satan do this to Job's children?
Okay, so with the boat, with the oar, with the raft that God sends, like I was saying with the story about a person flooding and them rejecting that. Okay, Job knew and understand who God is. Okay, he understood that he could talk to him afterwards. In that story, when you get to chapter 38 to chapter 43, you then in turn see God explaining to him, there is coming an end time. The way you guys view time, the way you guys view reality is not the same way I do. Okay.
At no point does Job have any idea that Satan is doing this to him.
Again, why he stays quiet. Okay, God, I don't know what's going on. But where everybody else decided to curse God, Job stayed quiet until he could talk to God, till he can get the understanding. At the end time, God explains to Job through descriptions of what he does, revelation, meaning that the evil one, Satan, is going to be punished. Your kids, your land, all going to be restored. But your kids who perished, they're here with me. Satan does this anyway. How do I correct that? So my question to you would be, how would you deal with willful defiance?
There's nothing analogous. Willful defiance, what does that have to do with the story of Job?
Go to chapters 38 and chapter 43. So then that way you can see.
I got to read the entire chapter?
Yes, that's how you get context. You got to read everything.
But don't you know the answer? Like I get you saying that I should read it. That's fine. But don't you know the answer?
Yes, and I'm trying to get you to know it.
Well, could you just tell me what it is? Because I'm looking at chapter 38 and it's got 41 verses in it.
Mm-hmm. You can't skip over it. You got to read these things. Remember, you haven't read the whole story.
So you have no idea.
I do have an idea.
Could you please tell me?
So, okay, not a problem. Okay, let's go to chapter 40, verse 1. Moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him?
This is not chapter 40. What chapter are you on?
I am Job chapter 40, verse 1.
Oh, for some reason, my version doesn't have verse 1. Why the hell is that? Huh.
Because man
must be considered
I can tell you
an addition.
No, because man has become so wicked. And when we read everything, we can now understand his characteristics and what's going on. That, oh, well, if I don't give you this, then you won't know. It's like the same thing with praying. They took the most important part out in praying, where when you fast and you pray with all of your heart and all of your mind on one accord, God moves. But in the book that we have till today versus what they took out, it's if you just pray. No, there's an order. So if you go right here to chapter 40, it says, moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him? So you're going to tell me what to do in this, even though you don't know what to do.
So
he that reproveth God, let him answer it. So if you got the answer, you tell me, just like what you just did with me right now. Okay? Verse 3. Then Job answered the Lord and said, behold, I am vile. I know I'm messed up, God. I know I'm not right. I will lay mine hand upon my mouth. I'm going to shut up and let you speak because I don't got it. I can't answer you. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer yea. Twice, but I will proceed no further. Full stop. Then answered the Lord unto Job out the whirlwind and sea, gird up thy loins now like
buddy,
a man.
we can't sit here
Man
and
up.
read the entire thing. What's the point?
But that's what
I'm
you're supposed
completely
to do.
lost. Okay, so you said the answer is in those places. And then I said, okay, well, I can't sit here and read the entire thing on this live stream. Could you just tell me? And all you're doing is just reading them. So you never had an answer for any of this. All
Yes,
that's going on here
answer.
is in 38, God says, oh, yeah, Job, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do these other things? Do you know this? Do you know that? Because Job says, why did you do this to me? And God just lists his powers, really as if to mock Job in a weird way after he allowed his life to be ruined. And then Job says, I still don't get it. And then God goes through this whole other soliloquy saying these other things. Have an arm like God? Can you thunder with a voice like his? And then Job just capitulates at the end. It's like, okay, well, I see. I mean, fuck it. Goes on. Verse 41 is still God just jerking himself off. After the Lord, you got to go to verse 42. After the Lord had spoken these words to Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz, whatever, the termite, my wrath is kindled against you and your two friends, for you have not spoken of me what is right, and as my servant Job has. Now, therefore, go sacrifice some bulls. Yeah, there's just, okay, at the top. Then Job... Yeah, I don't know why. For some reason, what I'm reading here, it doesn't label verse 1. It's not missing. They just don't label it.
You have to read everything. You're going to always be in this.
Stop. Then Job answered the Lord, I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Who is this that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore, I have uttered what I did not understand, things too powerful for me, which I did not know. Here and I will speak. I will question you, and you declare to me, I have heard you by the hearing of the ear. What a sentence. I had heard you by the hearing of the ear. But now my eyes see you, therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes. So literally no explanation for why God did anything to Job. God just says, my dad could beat up your dad, and Job goes, yeah, you're right, fam. There's no moral here except for God to demonstrate first of all, let innocent people get killed, and then for God to say, me strong. This is a monstrous person.
That's all you're going to get if you just skip around. When you skip around, that's all you're going to get. I actually ask you with full honesty, read all of it and then
all of Job or the entire Bible?
Read all of Job. I would ask you to read all of the entire Bible. I want you to do that. But
Where
my
okay,
point I'm making is just please
you've
read the
you've
entire
done this,
subject.
so can you just
Mhm.
tell me what it is that makes it okay that God allowed for innocent people to be killed in horrible ways?
There is nothing that makes it okay, is the point I was trying to get to. God is going to save us from all of that. It happened to Job, okay? And when it happened to Job, God stepped in. Job got to talk to God. Then in chapter 38 to chapter 42, you see the answer, but you're never going to be able to get it if you don't read all of it. I
Then
am
what is
going to
the
go to a
answer?
scripture. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can try and get this to you as fast as possible. I just ask you to give me a quick second. I want to make sure I have the right one. So go to chapter 41, and let's go from verse 12 to verse 34, if you would please. Is that okay?
12 to 34.
Yes, there's your answer right there.
This is just
I'll have
God.
you. I'll
This
have
is
you
just
read it.
this is the middle of God saying all the things he can do. So why are we starting in the middle of God saying all the things he can do?
Because you didn't want to start in the beginning. You asked for a quick answer. Please read it. Chapter
Oh,
12 through 34. I'll have you read it.
this is, I don't know why I'm even going to do this. I will not keep silence concerning its limbs or its mighty strength or its splendid frame. Who can strip off its outer garment? Who can penetrate its double coat of mail? Who can open the doors of its face? There is terror all around its teeth. Its back is made of shields and rows, shut up closely with a seal. One is so near to another that no air can come in between them. They are joined to one another, they clasp each other and cannot be separated. It sneezes, flash forth light, and its eyes are like eyelids of the dawn. From its mouth go flaming torches. Sparks of fire leap out of its nostrils. Comes smoke as from a boiling pot, and burning rushes. Its breath kindles coals. All right, so I'm not at 34 yet. Where you're telling me that this is an explanation for why it's okay to let innocent people be killed by Satan?
Okay, so no, I'm not telling you. You're asking why, and I'm telling you he's going to stop everything. That he's describing Satan right now, and
He
who Satan
literally
is.
didn't. He could have stopped it, and he didn't.
Keep reading. Keep reading.
It literally just fucking says, its leaves a shining wake
Keep
behind
reading.
it. One would think the deep to be white-haired. On earth, it has no equal, a creature without fear. It surveys everything that is lofty, and it's king over all that are proud. The end. So there's an
That's not the
explanation for
end.
that's 30. That's verse
You skip the
34.
middle.
There's
Yeah, you
nothing
skip the
in.
middle. Why didn't you want to read? Why don't you want to read verse 22 going down?
Its neck
In
abides
his neck
strength and
remaineth.
terror
Nope. In
dances
his neck
before
abides
it.
strength. Yep.
Where in there is the
The flakes of his flesh are joined together. They are firm in themselves. They cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as a stone, yea, as hard.
none of this has anything to do with a justification for letting innocent people be killed. What are you doing? You're muted. Okay, now you're unmuted.
Yeah, I know I'm muted, man. You don't want to hear it. The sword of him that is layeth at him can.
Okay, you're just trolling at this point. You have absolutely nothing to offer. So instead, we read 20 verses for absolutely no reason. None of those verses say anything about anything. It's just God jerking himself off. Goodbye.